Andor is cool, it's sleek, it's edgy, and it's very deep, which is a unique compliment for a modern Star Wars story.
Yes, yes.
But of all the words I could use to describe Andor, the one that comes to mind the most is how real the show feels. Now I am aware that it sounds odd to say that a Star Wars TV show feels real, but I don't mean that the laser guns and spaceships are believable science fiction. I mean the show feels and functions like a real world. The characters are smart and have goals fitting of their placement in the story. The villains aren't goofy droids or spazzy nerds. They are intimidating and dangerous. The Empire is run on bureaucracy, intrigue, and corrupt politicians. And there are actual consequences to the characters' actions. The stakes are always high and the payoffs feel earned, at least for the most part. Andor submerses us in a faraway galaxy and tells a story worthy of the Star Wars name. So let's get into why this show is so fucking awesome. Number 1. Tension. Prequels are difficult to make. Not only do you have to fit your narrative into a pre-designed story, but you also have to contend with the fact that your audience already knows what's going to happen to some degree. Take Attack of the Clones for example. The final lightsaber duel pits Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda against Count Dooku. Visually, it's pretty flashy, but there really isn't much drama to it. That's because we know the heroes are going to survive and play central roles in the original trilogy. Even when Anakin gets his arm chopped off, it fails to surprise us because it's simply one step closer to him becoming Darth Vader. In essence, the tension dies the moment you realize that the outcome is predetermined. The Han Solo film as a whole suffers from this dilemma. The entire movie surrounds characters that are encased in 50 feet of plot armor, and so every shootout or standoff is almost meaningless to watch because you know that the main characters aren't in any real danger. So how do you fix this? Well, there are two main strategies. The first is shifting tension away from the main character's life. Instead of constantly endangering someone we know will survive, rely on other characters or world-shifting consequences to carry the emotional weight of the conflict. For example, The Phantom Menace has one of the most famous sword fights in the entire Star Wars franchise, and it's mainly due to how the fight focuses on Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul. The climactic duel doesn't hinge on Obi-Wan as we know he will survive this battle. Qui-Gon and Maul, however, are both characters that haven't been established previously, and so the scene has time to build in intensity. We don't know their outcome in the story or who will win the fight, and so the stakes feel much more real. The second strategy is to surround the protagonist with new, compelling, and vulnerable characters. In this way, even though we know the outcome of the main hero, we as the audience are still invested in the other characters that are driving the plot forward. The Solo film did this to an extent, except none of the characters were that likable or memorable.
This is not IP I'm familiar with.
Well,
I mean, does anyone remember Emilia Clarke's name in the movie? Or did you just forget that she was in the film altogether? Andor, however, implements both of these strategies really well. Like Obi-Wan and Han Solo, Cassian is an established character that has a pre-designed ending. But the show doesn't waste time pretending that we don't know this. Instead, it builds tension by focusing on other people around him. While yes, Cassian is often in the middle of the action, he usually isn't the focal point of the suspense. Take the Season 1 finale for example. Ferrix has become a powder keg as most of the main characters converge to kill or capture Cassian. Luthen, Vel, Cyril, and Dedra are all against him. But once the uprising begins, the tension shifts away from Cassian and becomes more about what will happen to everyone else. Cyril and Dedra make a close escape during the riot, Vel tries to find her girlfriend, Luthen is forced to leave, and all the while there's intense fighting in the streets. This lets Cassian as a character fade into the background as the tension of the sequence becomes more about the supporting cast. This kind of well-written tension can be seen in the prison breakout as well as the Gorman massacre. In fact, the two most criticized episodes in Andor are the only two storylines that don't follow this formula. Many people thought that the plotline of Cassian stealing the TIE fighter was slow and boring, which is because A, the tension solely relies on Cassian's survival, and B, he wasn't surrounded by compelling side characters. I, like many people, was glad to see the giant lizard creatures eat these guys at the end of episode 2. These guerrilla fighters simply weren't interesting enough to get invested in. But despite this arc having its issues, it doesn't take away from the fact that this is still an amazing TV show. Because Andor understands what most prequel stories do not. We don't need pointless sword fights or plot armor shootouts. We need stakes that feel real and alive, even when the ending is pre-written. Number 2. Attention to detail. Now, it's no secret that Andor has had a lot of detail put into its sets, costume design, and props. But I was a little confused as to why Vel made such a big deal out of this blaster in Season 2. But what I, like many people didn't know at the time, was that this gun had a whole character arc of its own. After doing some quick searching on Reddit, I learned that the blaster originally belonged to Cyril. He uses it on the raid on Ferrix, only for Cassian to steal it before he escapes with Luthen. Cassian then brings the blaster to the Aldhani heist. Skeen even remarks on it after searching Andor's bag. This is also how Vel recognizes it later on. After the heist is over, Cassian stashes the blaster before being imprisoned. And when he breaks out, Cassian gives it to Melshi before the two go their separate ways. Melshi and the blaster then reappear when he joins the rebellion on Yavin. And of course, in Rogue One, Melshi brings the blaster with him to Scarif, where he helps to steal the Death Star plans alongside Cassian. So the blaster that was used to uphold Imperial law ends up assisting in its destruction. All this reveals is the amazing detail the writers are willing to put into this story. I mean, this blaster has more of a character arc than most characters do in modern Star Wars. And it's an inanimate object. The point is that the writing here makes Andor feel real and grounded. People, places, and even seemingly random items have a story of their own. The blaster itself also serves as a metaphor for Cassian and Cyril's relationship. See, when Cassian captures Cyril and steals his weapon, he humiliates him and ruins his career. This leads Cyril into an obsession that essentially ruins his life. However, when Skeen asks Cassian where he got the blaster, Cassian replies, "I never got a name." Skeen soon afterwards remarks on the Empire, saying that the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. This ties thematically with both Cassian and Cyril. The irony is that Cassian doesn't remember who Cyril was. He was just some guy he stole a gun from during one of his many adventures. This concept, of course, is brought full circle right before Cyril's death. It was a nice thematic moment that touches on one of the story's main messages. That a seemingly insignificant action to one person can actually be a world-altering event to another. This is the kind of detail that makes Andor special. Not because it rewards obsessive fans, but because it treats its world like a real place, where even objects carry weight, and its history has consequences. Hey guys, I want to thank you for watching my part 1 video on Andor. It's been nice doing a positive video for a change. Andor really is one of the best shows I've watched recently. And it made me feel invested in the Star Wars universe again, which I really didn't think was possible. So if you like this video and you want to see more like it, then hit the like and subscribe button and let me know down in the comments section. Also, if you want to support the channel in a bigger way, then please become a member. And like always, I will see you on the next one.